fought the rest, now try the best!
Do you think Christine chance to return only as Tekken Tag Tournament 3? I don't even know if it would be in Tekken Tag Tournament 3. I don't know if she returns. I think that Christine, her time might be over. If it was up to me, and I'm not trying to upset you with this, I'm just being honest. If it was up to me, I don't know if I would put her in a game again. You know how I would put her in a game? I would put her in a game the same way that Jiayu is to Panda. I would try to figure out a way to incorporate her into Eddie. Like, I would try to, like, maybe have her in Eddie's, like, win poses, you know, lose poses, something. Like, I don't know. I think that's the way forward. Like, for Raven and Master Raven, I really think they could have combined those characters, like a Cloak and Dagger, like a Noob and Smoke. You know, when you activate Heat, like a cloud of smoke should pop up, boom, cloud of smoke, and then Master Raven jumps out, right? And then you play Master Raven and Heat. I think incorporating some of these two characters, I think that's the way to go. You grab someone with Eddie, and then Christine comes in to do like a tag throw. That's the only way that some of these characters live, because we have too many characters at this point. Like, I'll show you guys this chart, bro. We just have way too many characters, and as we see with Tekken 8, the list is only going to expand. They already told us that they're doing one more character, so look at this, right? All of these characters are competing. How many characters is this? I'm not going to count. I'm just going to say roughly there's probably about 80. And here's the thing about Tekken. We know that they're probably going to continue to do 30 character rosters. So that means by default, 50 of these characters will not make it into the base roster. And then out of that 50 that's not on the base roster, we know that 10 or 20 will show up as DLC. Let's just say 10. So out of this 80 characters, 30 will always be base roster, and another 10 will be DLC, and then you have a little bit of wiggle room with an extra 10 or 5 characters, and that's still 40. That's 40-50. You still have 30 characters gone. But then also, they're constantly adding new characters. Victor, Azazina, Reina, and the character that shows up after Anna are not on this list. About time we get to Tekken Tag Tournament 3, you know how many more characters would have been created? We have 4 confirmed new characters for Tekken 8, and this is only year 2. Imagine year 5. We can at least say 7, right? Then you talk about Tekken 9, base roster for that game. We can at least say another 3. That's 10 brand new characters that did not exist, that's now existing. Once you talk about DLC, that's then another, let's just be generous and say another 4. That's 14 characters that did not exist in Tekken 7 that now exists at the end of Tekken 9. And in Tekken Tag Tournament 3, they would also want to create new characters as well. So then that number probably jumps up to like from 14 to like 19. So that's 19 totally new characters. Some of those characters will flop. Some of those characters will be the most popular characters in the game, like Reina. When you talk about Tekken Tag Tournament 3, you then have to think about, okay, how big is the base roster? A lot of players are mistaken in thinking that Tekken Tag Tournament 3 will have a massive base roster. But the opposite is true if we listen to what the developers say about base rosters now. After Tekken Tag Tournament 2's massive roster, the developers have went on record to say multiple times that they do not like doing big rosters. They do not want to go past 60. 60 is the number that they said on multiple different occasions. They will not go past 60. When you talk about 20 new characters being created by the time of Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and then you also talk about the pre-existing 30, that's 50 characters who are going to be competing for that Tekken Tag Tournament 3 base roster. And when you talk about Christine being an unpopular character, also a clone of one of the most iconic Tekken characters, it's not looking too pretty for her. And then I saw Kai in the chat said, what about a skin? That is a good idea. I think it's a great idea. But Michael Murray spoke on that in the past and he said no. He started talking about GTA and hitboxes, and basically he was like, the proportions. Let's just say, for example, Christine's waist is bigger than Eddie's. There are some skins in Tekken 7 that you could not use in tournaments because you were hitting the character but not their hitbox. Jack in particular, some of his alternate outfits were bigger than his actual outfit, and if you can make contact with his custom outfit but not hit him. And the same would be true if you made a skin for Christine that's Eddie. That's Michael Murray's argument, which is true, but is it so impactful to where you should exclude skins, right? Like what he's saying is true if we really want to dig deep into the details, but is it so true? Is it so egregious to where we don't do it? Because once again, if we talk about that Jack skin specifically, it was still in the game. You could use it in ranked, you could use it in player match, you're just going to use it in tournament. So if you allow that character, which we know have a hitbox issue, to exist in the game but not in tournaments, wouldn't you just do the same thing for your characters and potential skins they would get? Wouldn't you just say don't use it in tournament? And if it's really an issue, don't use it in ranked, right? That's the idea, at least. I think Tekken Tag Tournament, and also with Tekken Tag Tournament 3, that game is so far in the future to where we don't even know what game it will look like. AI is making improvements so fast. And you know, these video games are trying to incorporate AI into their game. If you look at how much Tekken has evolved from Tekken 8 to Tag 2, we can expect that same kind of leap from Tekken 8 to Tag 3. Because if you think about it, Tekken 8 is in the middle, right? And then on both sides, you have Tekken 7, you have Tekken 9. And then on both sides of that, you have Tag 2 and Tekken 3. So Tekken 8 is like in the middle ground, right? And we can see how much the game has changed. We can see how many new mechanics. This is something they talked about for Tekken 8. Why? Because people were saying, put a tag mode into Tekken 8. And basically they said no. One, because the stages aren't big enough. And we can already see that being the case with the heat system. The stages aren't big enough to do tagging with multiple characters. That's one. But then two, the heat system. The heat system, in a lot of ways, is already a tag. You're tagging in your heat version of yourself. The heat allows you to get a couple of extra hits, and that's the same thing a tag would do, right? So that's another thing. But then two, rage arts. Rage arts didn't exist. Power crush didn't exist. Wall bounce, wall stagger. Like a lot of these mechanics didn't exist in Tekken Tag Tournament 2 and backwards, and now they do. Heat smash. And with a tag system being thrown on top of that would get really, really crazy really, really fast. I mean, that's the issue with Tag 2 already, is like a lot of people said that game was very complicated and confusing, and that's without all of this stuff, right? That's without all of these mechanics that I just listed. Also, with what they said about the tag game, a lot of people say that Tekken Tag Tournament 2 doesn't look as good as Tekken 6, and that's by nature. That's by choice. They simplified the graphics because you need to look at 4 characters at once. When there's 4 characters on a screen, you need to be able to identify those characters, right? So that's why they reduced the graphics. Basically, it's a no-go for Tekken 8. You have Heat, you have Ultra Instinct, you have Rage, you have customization. 4 characters on the screen would be absolutely atrocious in this current version of Tekken. You would need to change the way that we look at the game in order to have more characters, like a Tekken Force. You could do a Tekken Force styled, 2v2 or something, and it would work, right? Basically, tag is a no-go for Tekken 8. It just wouldn't work. But then if you talk about what they would do in Tekken Tag Tournament 3, I don't even think that's a conversation they want to have. One, you talk about how that previous game performed. Who is going to want to run back to a failure? I don't think that's a conversation that they even want to have. But when they do decide to have that conversation, I think they're going to come at it way differently. Not only because of time, but also all of the new mechanics, all of the new characters, and also the huge failure that is once was. So that's my ideas, at least. I love how someone can ask me a simple question. Do you think Christine chances to return in Tekken Tag Tournament 3? And then I gave this person the longest answer possible. But I don't know. I just do it because, I'm not against any character showing up. I just lay out all of these different things so you guys understand, one, what the developer said, how they feel, the odds, all of these things, right? But me personally, I could care less who's on the game. Who cares, right? That's all we care about is Yoshimitsu. As long as Yoshimitsu's there, don't even worry about it. Christine, Christie, what's the difference?